You've gone. All good? Okay, so did you have a chance to look at the case? Okay, any questions that you have on Joy Sam before we start the questions? وين الطلاب اللي actually تعرفون؟ No, طلاب. So, برا يجوا يفوتوا. So who? Any questions on Joy Sam?
Yes, one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
They drill boreholes. I'm just looking. They drill boreholes. How they make the money?
Okay, they make the money. Who pays them? Pays them primarily are three types of customers. One is you have a number of NGOs, international NGOs. These NGOs want to create impact, so they look at and access to water is probably the investments with the greatest impact. So once you dig a well and you build a well, each well brings you the access to about 2,000 people to safe water. So it's the price of the digging the well, it's the price, of course, of testing the water and making sure that, that the water is clean, and then installing a pump to be able to get the water. So you have one are the international NGOs. The second one will end up being local municipalities. So these are, when I put international NGOs, I put also corporate social responsibility. So these are companies that want to do good, and it's a great way to do good because it's very effective, it's very quick, you measure the results very fast in terms of the water. The number two types of customers are the municipalities or local government entities. And number three, you have privates, individuals. They want to have a well, they do want to access it, so you have, it's either institution, it's schools, it's universities, it's others that do it. So these are the three categories of customers that they have.
Is there any maintenance?
Can you raise your voice?
Is there any maintenance in the contract?
Yeah, okay, so the maintenance agreement is very little. There is some whenever you have, but it's a very small percentage. It's not like what you have with computer or with automobiles. So it's more, so the real money that they're making in terms of revenue stream is in terms of the, but it's a good question because it's going to answer some of the questions that I've raised, because one of the growth opportunities is actually trying to see how we could get sustainability in terms of revenue. So these are good questions. Any other questions?
There is spare parts.
You have spare part sales for the pumps. For the pumps, you have the answer. The question was maintenance, but you're right. You agree. Spare part is part of maintenance. So there is maintenance is there, and one of the big problems that you have in Africa is a number of these pumps have problems. So a number of them, a large percentage of them, are not operational because of lack of spare parts. So spare parts is actually a very profitable part of the business because this has much higher gross margin than the actual drilling of the well. Yes. Can you raise your voice again?
They're planning to install such a big quantity. Do they want to themselves produce these parts, or
No, they import the parts. For the moment, they try to produce some, but most of the parts are imported. These are specialized parts on it. You might have some local production on it, but it's primarily going to be on import basis. But still with this, it's still a profitable business. Let me give you a bit of the history. I was there was a point in my life where some of you, you're still too young, but what we call an inflection point. So what is an inflection point? It's a point where you realize, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? So I was in my early 50s, and I was very successful career working with corporates, making a lot of money, traveling all around the world. And at this point in time, I realized that this is maybe not what I want to do for the rest of my life. So at this point in time, and I resigned from what I was doing. My boss at the time did not understand how I could leave such a well-paid job to do something different. And then I went from making, I won't mention the salary, but it's a salary that is indecent to mention, to basically having zero as salary, to being a volunteer with an organization called Stanford Seed. So this is an organization that is based on my alma mater, which is Stanford Business School, that was providing capacity building services. C'est Raja qui est là?
Ouais.
Okay, so Raja is because I don't see very well. So Raja actually is my cousin, and he went and realized that this is not what we want to do. So I took this inflection point in my life and stopped and then joined Stanford Seed. I was based in Accra, in Ghana, covering West Africa, and we had a number of companies. These were all social enterprises, and Stanford was providing capacity building, i.e. like a mini executive MBA, for about over a period of time, then assigning coaches or advisors to these companies. So each one of us, being it Raja, myself, and the others, we had about 6 to 8 companies that we were following. So these are companies where we're really sitting down with them at least once a week for about 4 hours and working with them and helping implement all the tools and all the templates that we have shared with you. Because these tools and these templates, if we don't have hand-holding to help you put it together, ما بتزبط. راح تحطوه on the drawers and you will forget about it. So the whole point of it is not only to give you the tools, to show you how these tools are used, but also to assign to you a coach for a period of time to be able to help implement it. So this was important, and but on top of this, what they had the coach, they had the capacity building network, and this is where I really discovered what I wanted to do. I knew nothing about coaching, I knew nothing about West Africa, I knew nothing about not running profit centers. All my life, for the past 35 years, I was running large profit centers across the world into different countries and different geographies. So this was a turning point, and I have never regretted this turning point. And not only I haven't regretted, I was lucky to have others like Raja, who is here. It might be also interesting for you to hear what he has to say. We discovered our true vocation, which is really to do what we do here, which is in some ways do the capacity building, at the same time being able to sit on the board of some of those companies and follow with them. And at the same time, which Stanford did not do, so this was the shortfall of Stanford, is they did not provide funding. So, and I pushed Stanford and I said, look, can I provide funding? They took some time to respond. I ended up investing in a couple of those companies for them to decide. Then they came back and say, you cannot fund anymore. You cannot fund on it. So I was stretching the boundaries in a way that they have setting the boundary. It was good because it was a learning process for me and learning process for them. So that what they lacked is that if you don't provide the carrots and if you don't provide the long-term relationship, because once you do the funding, you're in for 5 years, you're in for 10 years. With Joysam, we've been in for 10 years on this. So then you have a much greater chance of ensuring that whatever you're trying to plant as seeds have a possibility to grow and to expand. Okay, so this is a bit this inflection point. Now, in Stanford Seed, Joysam was part of those companies. Here, what they do, you go back, Lama. Okay, so this is, so you've seen that case study, yes? All of you read it? Yes. Okay, so you have it. So let's put the financials. So we go through, this is the budget. So this is this is the result that they had. Look at what Lama covered yesterday. So what you have here is the income statement. You have their revenue, these are actual figures. You have the gross profit margin that they had. They had a bit of a decline. They had a bit of tough times during the Corona times. This is the margin that they've generated, and this is the net income they generated. So the next slide, please, Lama. So what you do is they came and they presented this. So this is about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I forget. So we came and they said, this is the budget. We shared with them. We said, we want to do a case study. We, of course, send them the result. They said, no problem, please go ahead and share this. So this is an actual fact. This is a true company operating for a number of years, generating significant social impact. We could measure it, we could track it in terms of water savings, in terms of people having access to drinkable water, and we're talking about more than 10 million and potentially to go up to 15 million people that have been affected. This for us is a no-brainer in terms of the social impact, and we look at companies that have this impact and at the same time the integrity and at the same time the ability to be able to scale. They're aiming at 17 million, their gross profit is going down from 32% to 30%. Their operating profit moving from 6.44 to 14%, and their net margins from close to break even to about 9%. The financial ratios, remember what she has presented yesterday. What are the financial ratios? The key one here, you had asset turnover. You're looking at OPEX on revenue, so this is the measure of how efficient is the organization, moving from 28 to 16%. The current ratio is a measure of liquidity. The quick ratio is also a measure of liquidity. Return on capital employed is a very important one. So this is a measure that you will see about how much value is being created. This you combine both the balance sheet and you combine the income statement, moving from 13% to 68%. So for any company, if you want to know how much financial value has the company being created, what do? You take the return on capital employed and you actually remove from it the cost, the weighted average cost of capital, which is the cost of your debt and the cost of equity. We will not go into much detail, but normally for most of the companies it's between 20 to 30%, depending on how much debt they have, how much equity they have, and how much of the debt, where is it placed. Because in Lebanon, the cost of debt is very high. If you were in Switzerland, the cost of debt is 5%, where here, if it exists, for very few companies that have a chance, it's around 15%, some of them is 20%. So this drives it. So the difference between this and your cost of capital multiplied by the capital employed gives you the actual value that you have created, financial value that you have created for the organization. So it's a very important one. The other important ones are the one regarding to efficiency. Receivables, inventory, and look at it. Here they had a huge portion of their cash. 130 days, 299 days. This is, and most of Lebanese companies that suffered during the crisis suffered because they had high receivables, i.e. money that your customers owe you, or high level of inventory because you were sitting on inventories that you could not sell. So this is where your cash is. So the cash is here, and their target is to bring it down from 138, from 299 to 110. So this is, you see the income statement, you see the balance sheet. I didn't show you the cash flow statement, we have it in the cash flow, but once you have those two, the cash flow statement is automatically computed, as you will see from the model that you have received from Lama. So this is what you have. You're a member of the board. I'm here as the CEO. I'm presenting to you as the board, and I'm saying these are my budgets for next year. So what are your questions? Raise your voice.
As a person, member of the board, but maybe also I'm interested in basically the output, sustainability.
Okay, so specifically, what does it mean?
For example, let's say I'm giving money, or I'm
Here you're not giving money. Here you're a member of the board, and your role today, I'm presenting your budget. You either approve or you disapprove of the budget, and if you disapprove, tell me why so that we could fix it.
For me, it's other than the money, because I need to go back to the grant and see, okay, how many were installed and how many are still operational also, other than your numbers.
What is your question?
How many wells are still working?
Okay, okay. I understand. We don't want to get into this level. I'm trying to keep it. I'm sorry to interrupt you because we need to move. It's. I mean, these are all good questions. You today, we could go into the details. How many wells? What is the impact? All this. Today, I want to keep it high level. These are financials. These financials is a budget. You, as a board member, do you approve it or you don't approve it? If you don't approve it, tell me why you don't, please. Yes, go ahead.
What happened in 2020?
Okay, all right, all these are good questions. So 2020, what you had is you have, in Ghana, you have what we call seasonality. During the year of presidential elections, you have extremely high investments. After the presidential elections, there is no investment. So this is, so we could go. But this is not the question. My question to you is specific. You have the result of 2023, the budget of 2024. Don't ask me questions about, I want to know whether you approve this budget, yes or no. Go ahead.
But I need to ask about the 2024. How
Yes.
are you planning to increase revenue so much?
Okay.
Not increasing population?
Okay, this is a good question. So these are the sort of questions I'm expecting. So this question is a very good question. How are you going to increase your revenue when you're increasing your operating expenses but much less? So this is a very valid question. What other questions you have? So this is one. What others? Yes.
So how can you are making so much revenue extra 2.5 times?
Yes.
And where this is coming from?
Okay.
Not possible.
Okay, very good. Very good question related to yes.
Are not getting
We fully agree. We're going to answer. He had the answers. The answer is he had a list of projects that were signed because of its election year. This year is election year, so there is a number of projects. So he said, Constantin, I have 3/4 of those numbers that are pretty much guaranteed. They are guaranteed. I have signed agreements. This is the contract. They're going to fulfill it. So this is why I have such a high growth. And because it's an election year, there is a high likelihood that this is going to happen. Yes?
What is basically the plan? I would like to see a plan on how they're going to reduce the inventory
Yes.
into cash and translate it into...
Okay. All right. So this is another good question. The inventory moving from 299 to 110, when at the same time you're growing your business, is mission impossible. There is absolutely no way you could cut your inventory by 2/3 without affecting your top line. You could do it if you're not growing very fast, but if you're growing at this level, it's going to have to be an issue. So we pushed back on the inventory. We felt that the inventory was not realistic given the growth that we have. We actually did not push back on the revenue. We pushed back a little bit. We said, I want you to be conservative, and we want you to do only put those that you are completely 100% sure. So instead of the 17, we went down to about 13 to 14 million. I forgot the exact figure, but it's still doubling the growth. So it's still 100% growth behind it. What other questions? Yes?
From the financing costs, it looks that they are expecting to pay a good amount of the debt. Also, from the balance sheet, they are not planning to inject any equity capital.
Yes.
So how it seems that they are not going to reinvest.
Very good.
So without reinvesting,
Wait.
also what are the assumptions?
Okay, this is another very good question. So he had two things here. He looked at his finance cost, and he looks at finance cost is going down. When you know that interest rates have been going up, now they're a bit stabilizing behind it. So what it means that yes, there will be reducing their debt level. And what we're doing, and we've been pushing them to do so, and part of the debt is debt that I funded, some convertible debt to them, and my debt is in US dollar. So these are the first debt that needs to go, although my interest rates are much lower than what you have in terms of market rate. So what they're doing is Constantin, we want to reduce your capital, which is great news for Lama because she's managing my cash flow for the operation. So they will be reducing the US dollar debt, keeping the one in local currency in order to be able to reduce their interest expenses and hence improve. Because you could see here a big portion of the profitability is being taken by the debt. So this is the first one. In the second one, it is in terms of equity, we want them to raise, but you do not raise equity once you are in a flat situation. You raise equity when you have a very clear growth path. Most of you are going to face it. So to do the growth path, give us the figures for 2024, show that you could grow, show us that you have other growth opportunity that you could do, and this will be the time at the end of 2024 to start approaching equity investors because of the impact that you're creating and because of the growth that you have. So these are all great questions. Any other questions? Yes?
I think, retaining earnings for 2024, I didn't understand it.
Okay. So what are the retained earnings? The retained earnings that you have here, so this is the retained earnings, this is the capital is the initial capital. Retained earnings typically is what you have accumulated in terms of profitability minus dividends. So what do you do? So you have profits. Those profits you could decide to invest all back in the company. Where does it go? It goes into retained earnings that you have here. Unless you want to take a portion and give it back to whom? To the shareholders as what? As dividends. So what they did here is they took the profitability for 2024. What is it in terms of net income? 1.575. So this 1.75 here. So if the retained earnings is not the same, so probably what is there is that dividends have been taken in order to be paid to pay back. So but these are good questions. So what you start to get is the correlation between your income statements and your balance sheet behind. So all what you have asked are great questions, and these are the questions that we asked. They reviewed, they came back, and then we changed the assumptions to make it a bit more realistic in terms of growth, more realistic in terms of inventory. You're still missing two elements. What are the two elements that you're missing?
The running cost.
Okay, the running cost. What you do, if you look at the running cost that you have here, there is some sort of an increase in the running cost there. Director remuneration, okay, it's a little bit. So here you have some increase. You're doubling your business, even with the revised. And here your expenses are growing by, let's say, 1.7, so 5. So about 40% when you're doubling your business. You're going to stretch your organization. So this is a point where you have to be careful, because if you stretch it too much in this, you might end up losing people and demotivating people. So what we said, first is we reduce the top line. And this is what we done. And we said we want to make sure that our people are well compensated for the job that it's going to do. So this was one of the points. Good one. There is one final point. What is it? Yes?
The cash conversion cycle is expected to drop in 2024, right?
Yes.
And the sales have risen drastically.
Yes.
However, the cash balance on the balance sheet is still on the same.
Yeah.
You have reduced your receivables.
Yes.
Increased your sales.
Yes.
How come that you still have the same level?
Okay, we're going to do it. This is a good question too, but I'm going to simplify it in your life. Also your receivables, to move your receivables from 140 days to 88 days is aggressive. Although it's not as aggressive as the reduction of your inventory, trust me that these receivables are tough to get, because you're talking to what? You're talking about municipalities, you're talking about government entities that could take their time to do it. So let's look at the balance sheet. So look at the balance sheet in 2023. So what is happening in 2023 versus 2024? I have my accounts receivable are growing. They're growing because I'm increasing my business. This makes sense. They might need to grow a bit more because they're going to 88 days, but this is part of is growing. My inventory level is being actually reduced, which is completely nonsense. This will not fly, so this doesn't make sense. But if we take it and we have approved it, it means that we have to finance about $1.7 million in terms of receivable. Property, plant, and equipment, they probably have done some depreciation or selling of trucks behind it. The Joysam investment, this is an investment that they had in Gabon, so they normally should be collecting. This is being reduced on it, so they're probably collecting some cash behind it. What do they do with this? They fund it through, they do the reduction in debt. So there is a reduction in debt. They keep it a little bit here increased. There is a bit of an increase in payables. So the big one in terms of liability is some of the reduction in debt here, which is compensated in some ways with the increase in the accounts payable. So overall, what does it mean? Overall, it's not changing a lot. So what I'm doing is whatever I have to pay in receivables is that has to pay in receivable is being compensated. Please, one voice, one discussion. It's being compensated by the cash I'm generating from the investment in Gabon. Whatever I'm reducing in terms of long-term loan, I'm paying in terms of supply payment. This is why my cash position did not change a lot. Do you understand what I'm saying? I went a bit fast on it, but these are, you look at the variances in terms of the key assets and the key liabilities on this. Now, if you want to have more cash, because you could say that the cash position is still not strong, then you don't have too many options. And if we're pushing them to increase the inventory, they cannot increase the inventory and they have this cash position. So if they increase the inventory, which we're asking them to do, what does it mean? What does it mean? It means that they are forced to stretch their supplier even more, which they can do because DPO is going down from 199 to 93. Your suppliers are used to pay on 200 days, to get paid on 200 days. Why do you want to give them a present to bring it to 3 months? You know, who are you? Are you cash rich to be able to do this? You do it slowly. So one of the things that we need to do is look at their payables, and their payables, we need to stretch them a bit more. So part of it, they need to reduce their, increase their inventory, but to increase their inventory, they need to increase the level of payables. If this is not enough, they need to maybe not reduce the debt as much as they are planning to. So this logic is something that you will get used to. As you read those statements, as you deal with those statements, you're going to, and this is how you could start influencing decisions in terms of the board of these. Is this clear? I went fast for some of you, it's okay. When you go on it twice and 3 times, you know, the first time Lama came on board, it was not very clear. You know, when she comes second, third, and fourth time, then it becomes clear. When we look at these statements before she joined, and then we have the discussion on this thing. Any questions? So this, yes?
The DPO was their decision or their suppliers' decision?
No, it is their decision. So what they want to do, but they're doing a present. But once somebody reduced the suppliers that much, I'm asking first, yeah, your suppliers, are they really starting to stop working with you on this thing? They said, no, we kept them. How long have you been keeping them? For 10 years, for this? So why do you want to go and give them? When somebody comes here and reduce it, in my mind, it sounds that there is something fishy. What does it mean, fishy? It means that I am paying the suppliers and probably getting some kickbacks out of the suppliers because I pay. So I start, for me, it's a red flag, potentially. Now, the owner doesn't. I mean, he's the one, so I think the risk is low. But for me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do this. Unless somebody in his team, his finance manager, is pushing to have this, then I would ask questions. Why? And who? Who are we? So who are the ones that we are reducing the payables? And then I'm then trying to check if there is something fishy going on. Okay, so these are the things, this is what I call sniffing. That you have to sniff to understand. Yes?
If you could revise the variance between budget and actual for the past years.
Yes.
How much did they manage to stick to the budget?
Yes. Okay, it's also a very good question. It's a very good question. So what we did is I beat it on them. Because typically the guy is very sales-oriented, so always trying to push for high budgets and high things, and the reality is that he was under-delivering. Not so much on the cost. He manages the cost well. Not so much on the gross profit. He managed the gross profit. But in terms of revenue expectations. So these revenue expectations have to set. Here we validated, we squeezed. He understands it. So we had signed agreements being done. I want to push to the second question. The second question is you're in their shoes. You've seen the growth. The growth has, I mean, this is a good growth. So what in your, beside the budget, so to summarize it, you would approve the budget, provided that we revise the growth rate to probably about 14 million. We're going to increase a little bit more the the salaries here. We're going to increase the level of inventory in order to make sure that we don't jeopardize the growth that we have. And then we will see with the suppliers how we can stretch the suppliers a bit more so as to keep the debt reduction. I like the debt reduction that they have so they don't carry so much interest rates on their balance sheet. And this is what we've provided them, which is basically aligned with what you have recommended. This is real life case. This is how you end up learning. It's not only that she showed you the templates. This is how the templates are being used. Yesterday, Lama has went through this. They went through this, they went through cash flow, and this is the real application of what she has been preaching yesterday. She went through the financial ratios. This also helps because this ends up being the KPIs that we'll be holding accountable the CEO for. Now the second question is related. You're here to help them. What would you give them as advice in terms of growth? What sort of strategic advice would you give to the JoySam CEO? You've seen the history. You've seen their impact, you've seen their financial, we approved the budget based on these conditions. What else would you give them as recommendation? Do you understand my question?
Go aggressive on sales maybe.
Okay, but go aggressive on sale, this is generic. Yani Heidi, go aggressive on sale, thank you.
Team.
Thank you.
I mean sales team.
Yeah, sales team, which means what? Means hiring salespeople?
Hiring, no, maybe hiring more efficient people, developing, capacity building the team they already have.
Okay, all right. So growth, investing more in sales resources. Yes.
They're growing into new areas and they're growing new products as well.
Yes.
And this could stretch operations and could either go really good or really bad. So
Okay.
to understand how they want to do this and how they want to divide it as well.
Okay.
And how they're going to study the new markets they want to enter.
Okay. So what we do is we have it's also growth related. Give me an indication where is your growth coming from, and would this growth make sense? Do you have the resources to be able to implement on your growth initiative? You don't want to fall short because this will affect your reputation in the market. Any other feedback? Yes.
So we saw that they are changing a bit of their model from direct sales to agent sales.
Yes.
So this is, I think, why their property, plant, equipment is
going down.
Going down.
Yes.
I guess. But normally they need to invest more in training and
yes.
in at least software or whatever it is to communicate with these guys so that they are efficient enough, because changing from model to model is very hard. And
yes.
it's really,
I agree.
Could,
yes, I agree. Okay, so what we do here is we look at the mechanism of growth. So the way they're going to grow is twofold. One way that they're growing is indeed because you have a lot of, Ghana is a big country. So you have a lot of remote areas, and if you have to go bring your drilling equipment, put this thing, it takes a lot of time and everything. So what we need to do is we need to outsource. Outsource is some regions where you don't have the critical mass to justify having the presence there. So this is one way. So related to this, you need to make sure before you train, you need to make sure that you find the right people that have the right talent mix, that have the right ability to be able to invest, because it takes time to invest. And then you need to make sure that they're trained, and you need to make sure that you hold their hand for the few installation. So this is quite important. The second area of growth is that they're looking at growing into not only digging wells. What they want to do is they want to start distributing water. So what they want to do, instead of drilling wells and being paid for the wells, they want to build the wells, build the water reserve, and then have some sort of systems to take the water from a central location to different locations within the village. So what they end up being is like what? A mini utility. So what we do is we get paid from the water that we sell. So this is a different model. So this is important, and one of the big projects is in this direction, We want to make sure that this is successful. We want to make sure that we build on it, have it a success, and being able to open up and extend. So this is another. Yes, Raja?
Maybe one of the models is also to increase partnerships with other companies that can introduce them to other markets instead of having to do it directly themselves every time.
Yes, yes.
Third parties that look like they're resellers.
Yes. Yeah. Geographic expansion is important, but as you said, if you want to expand geographically, you need to reduce your risk. And one way of reducing the risk is making sure that you find the local partner, because at the end of the day, this is about network. This is about knowing the network. So if it's a new country, you might have a partner that have a better network. So all of those are very good recommendations. The other recommendation we gave them is today they have a huge impact, and they have not done an impact report. And this is why our friend Yasser is going to show you how you go, why is ESG measurement important, how do you certify and get certification of for ESG, as your ability to be able to understand what is the impact, to measure this impact, to track this impact, and to be able to report it, because more and more investors and donors are interested in this. So this becomes a significant portion of your business. This they have not done. So we said it's critical for you to be able to do it. And once you do it, then it's critical for you to go, and we could knock at doors. And we know the organization that would love to support this sort of social enterprise through grants, not necessarily through debt, not necessarily through grants, so as to test new growth opportunities that we'd have. We will stop here. It's a good case study. Hope you enjoyed it. And this is what we're looking. And the plan for Lama and for I is, as we work with Lebanese companies, yesterday they had the case studies of biomass, yesterday they had the case study of Compost Baladi, Mark was here to present it, today you have Joy Sam. We would like to have you, as we help you grow and get to know you, to be able to document these case studies that become also training materials for the rest of the organization that we'll be working with. Okay, any final questions before we move on? Clear? Well, did you find it interesting?
Yes.
This is real life. This is real life example of what's happening at a board, real life example of how we use the tools that you have said yesterday. And the one we didn't show you is the cash flow forecast. And this, I'm on their back. So give me your cash flow forecast by months. I want to see how you're doing it every month behind it, so as to see whether there is potential gap behind. Part of it is I am in some ways not conflicting, because I want to make sure I get paid the amount, because I want them to reduce the capital that they have, because this will reduce their exposure and reduce the risk elements that they have. But most importantly, I want them to have the discipline to put together the cash flow and to be able to track it and to measure it. Clear? Yes?
Would you consider giving them some the advice of adding the percentage of cash that they have?
What do you mean?
Are they having, they don't have crisis, but I'm sensing that you're expecting some devaluation of their currency.
Yeah, they would, I mean, the situation in Ghana is similar to Lebanon. Not as bad, but it's similar. It's because there is so many Lebanese controlling the economy. So I think it's in Senegal, in Nigeria, يعني اللبنانية راحوا وحرقوا دين البلد. No, it's I shouldn't say this. No, I'm joking. Of course I'm joking. But Lebanese, frankly speaking, I'm half joking. Because Lebanese, unfortunately, in these countries, what they do is they go for the big government project, and they're the best in terms of bribing in order to be able to get the project. And I'll be very frank, when Raja and I worked, a number of the companies that we worked, so we have, if they knew that we were Lebanese, they were afraid to share information. They felt that we were going to go and give it to the competition and do this. I'm exaggerating a bit, but not that much. Okay, I need to move on because we have a number. I'm going to introduce 3 guests, yes.
Let Raja just do the introduction before you.
Okay, Raja, do you want to say a couple of words on your experience?
I think you've pretty well summarized the coaching program as far as it is concerned. What I would like to add to that is just a few words as to what a coach is really.
So come in. By the way, it was Raja's birthday, and yesterday he was leading the band. So he was. He doesn't look 30 years old, So. You have to speak.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Okay, I jotted down some notes here. I didn't know really how the flow was going to go, so I'm kind of
making it as I go. But one of the things that you said about being a coach is how you work with the company in order to implement the programs that have been decided as part of the Seed Transformation Program. So what I wanted to say is the role of a coach differs from that of a consultant. You know, it's very, as entrepreneurs, it's extremely lonely to be at the top. You don't know who to talk to, who you can have trust in, and it's extremely useful to have someone who acts as an independent sounding board, someone who's going to be not just a mentor, a friend, someone who's going to look at your business, but also someone who's going to look at you as a person. So a coach is a mentor, a coach is a sounding board. A coach can be an expert in a given area. For example, Constantin is very much of a financial guru. I've seen here in the short period of time that he's given you this presentation how skilled he is. But a coach can come from, can bring different qualifications. So ideally, a coach has to have a pretty good understanding of a business, of an organization, so that he's able or she's able to help you in a holistic manner, so that they're able to identify what issues you are facing in your business, not just from a financial perspective, but from a whole other array of perspectives. Let's see. So a coach intervenes on different levels. He helps you make the right decision. What I would like to say about coaching is it's different from a consultant who would give you a report and say, okay, you go out and do it. As we said, he helps you in the implementation as well. And he helps you make, or she helps you make the right decisions. So it's not a matter of packaging a solution for your organization, but it's to equip you so that the coach in one way or another becomes self-disappearing, if you will. And therefore, you will be equipped in order to make the decisions for yourselves and with your team. And he or she aids in the implementation. Like you said, Constantin, one of the big issues of the Seed Transformation Program is the entrepreneurs and the companies that join the Stanford Seed Program are companies typically that make between $300,000 to $15 million a year. So you're not talking about huge companies, but for the size of Africa, they're decent. They go through a one-year program. You get the best of the best professors of the Stanford School who give them a mini MBA for a year. They end up with a load of materials. It's extremely theoretical, but for those of you who are entrepreneurs, you know that in the daily grind of the business, the manuals that you have to follow, the methods, the systems, it's very difficult to do it. So it has to be very practical. And I'm losing my train of thought here. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, the implementation is crucial long-term. And what you've been doing, you've coached companies like Joy Sam. So I met Joy Sam. I was with you on one of their boards. The fact that you continue with them long-term is one major factor of success. So I left Africa as a full-time coach about a year ago, came back to Lebanon because Lebanon needs entrepreneurs. In the absence of a framework and of an environment and a legal support system, in the absence of government, and we're pretty much a failed state here, as you well know. I mean, you can't even get fiscal stamps. You are the future of this country, but it's not enough to just have entrepreneurs and to have coaches and to have mentors like Constantin. It needs to be a collaborative effort between academia, between so the private sector, the public sector, which is today unfortunately inexistent. But I only see the future of this country as a collaborative effort, even in the absence of the state. And the coaches come in here to be able to equip you long-term in order to help you succeed. This is all I have to say. It wasn't prepared other than a few notes. I ad-libbed it, but thank you, Constantin.
Thank you. No, look, what I said, you have people like Raja, people like myself. You're going to meet with Sami now. You have Yasser. Frida went out, but she will be joining now. So these are all people with a lot of experience working with either startups, with scale-ups, with small, medium size. So what I encourage you is to reach out to those. These are part of the ecosystem. They have the experience. They have the time. They have the willingness. They understand because they've been. So make use of those. Make use. Now, they're all extremely busy in terms of what, but if it clicks, and then you have a good chance to have, and Lama and I work this way. We talk with a number of those companies. With some of them it clicks. All of them will give them the feedback. With some we decide that we want to take the feedback over a much longer period of time. And then if it's really long, we then invest, and this becomes then more of a lifetime thing. Now I want to introduce another one. You've heard it from an advisory portion. I'm going to ask to hear it from an investor. So Sami and I go a long time. Sami Beydoun is a friend, but he's the one who started the first VC fund in Lebanon and probably in the region. This is Beritech Fund 1. So this was created back in 2007, if my memory is correct. So this is a number of you are still in your high school years, if not in your primary school. But this was an experience, and because of this experience, the central bank decided to create another true funds to be able to support, and we created Beritech Fund 2. So when we started with Sami, it was $6 million. With Beritech Fund 2, we went to $60 million. So we have a lot of experience, not only in funding, but Sami have also the experience in exiting. And very, very few venture capital fund, not only in Lebanon, in the region. Everybody will say, I funded, but at the end of the day, it's not the funding that matters. It's what do you fund, how much value do you add, and how do you be able to extract and pay back your funding sources, so which is very difficult in an illiquid market. So I'm going to ask Sami to come and to share with you a bit of his experience in terms of the tips that out of those companies that were successful, and a few of them, we don't need 10, we need 1 or 2 that are successful. What did they do correctly in order to be able to sustain financially in a very difficult situation? Sami is also a friend. We're also hiking together, and we do this on a very regular basis. And trust me, the hikes with him keep me fit. Raja is also, and Lama has been joining on these hikes, and these are a beautiful way to get attached to our country. Sami, thank you.
Thank you, Constantin, and good evening, everybody. Well, I can see a lot of young faces around here. I'm sure that all of you would enjoy hikes. Constantin is great in organizing those hikes, and I was always very happy to be the guide of those hikes. And I am a board member of the Lebanon Mountain Trail Association. And we have designed and opened many hikes in Lebanon that I'll ask you to explore. Go on the website of the Lebanon Mountain Trail, and then you will get all the information. Now we go back to our subject here. Constantin asked me to give you a few tips about how we cope in difficult times with the startup and entrepreneur. Of course, Lebanon is going through very difficult times. Most entrepreneurs are going in a very difficult time. However, I mean, if I need to give a tip, I don't have much time. I have only 5 minutes to talk and maybe 5 minutes to answer questions. So I'll focus only on one important thing, which I think is the thing that we ought to focus on, and that is the cash flow management. I mean, in difficult time, cash flow management is the important thing to do. And as you know, if you look at the cash flow statement, you have the cash coming from operation, cash coming from investment, and cash coming from financing. Now, if you are a startup or in difficult times, you won't have much investment to rely on. So you are going to rely on cash coming from operation and cash coming from financing. So cash coming from operation, most important is to focus on revenues. Many of the companies that I have worked with, they took their time to get to the revenue side. They spend a lot of time tinkering with the product in order to make it perfect, and they delayed the launch of this product. Some of them, they ran out of cash before they could launch the product, and they went out of business. So when you want to launch a product, it's not really very important to have a perfect product. You can have a good product, maybe not the best, but then you can launch it and start getting revenues, and then you can improve as you go. So this is one tip I would like to give you. Now, the other tip, of course, is to manage the expenses, because expenses is what you can control. And managing expenses, you have to see what expenses you are spending on activities, and you have to make sure that what you spend, they go toward activities which will generate income. Because without generating income, you are wasting your time, really. So to generate income, you need to have a client base. So having a client base, you have to market, and therefore, in your team, you should always have a marketing person, which also in the companies that that I worked with, many of them, they neglected the marketing aspect. They were all engineers, and they were focusing on the technical side. But having a good marketing person with you is important. And then also managing the financial, you need a good financial guy who could be the CEO at the same time. So you have really to be careful how the money is being spent and to be very productive in order to generate more cash. Now, if you are a startup in a difficult situation, all this is not going to be enough to looking at the cash flow statement, starting balance and ending balance. So you are going to start with X cash, but if you are not, if you are in difficult situation, you are going to end up with less cash, because, and what we call in our jargon, cash burn. I mean, it is not something that I like to use, because I like to use cash for investment, but you are burning cash. Now, where is it going to come from? It's going to come from people who are prepared to finance you. And this is why you also need to be on the outlook to raise money all the time. And raising money, it is a continuous operation, and it is done by stages. Because if you do it in one go and you want to raise a big amount of money to start with, you are giving away a big part of your company, and you don't want to do that. Now, one of the smart companies that I invested in is called PayPlug, and it was formed by two guys that met at Harvard when they were doing their MBAs. And the way they raised their money, they went, of course, first of all, they put in their own money to start the business. Then they got a grant from the EU because they are based in France. And then they, with this grant and their own money, they had the proof of concept. They were able to pitch to customer. So they started having a client base and revenues. Then they went and pitched to individual investors. They didn't tap VCs. So they preferred to go to Asian investors who are part of their own circle. So they were really friends and people that they met at Harvard or in the financial world. And this is where nurturing your relationship is very important. And Constantin is very good at that. when I asked him, which course did you like most when you went to Stanford? He said, relationship management.
Interpersonal dynamics.
Yeah, so.
No, it's go ahead. No, but no, it's interpersonal dynamics. But actually, he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
The way you manage your network is very important.
So,
we also need time for questions.
so actually, but the smart thing that they did, they put a limit to how much each investor can invest in. And they put the limit at 1.5%. So no one could invest a big amount of money. So at Veritech Fund, we invested $25,000, which was for us a small ticket. But I wanted to put more, but he wouldn't accept it. So I had to go with a small amount, and he had 20 other investors who each one throw in a small amount. And with this amount, he grew the business, and he proved to us that it works. Then he did a second round of fundraising a year down the road. Of course, Veritech Fund, we participated in this second round, and again, he kept growing the company, so which is again, as a tangent, growth is most important. I mean, the company has to grow. If it doesn't grow, you won't be able to get more money. And then he went for a third round of investment. Of course, each round would be at a higher valuation. So on the third round, I decided that I had already made 3 times my investment. I would like to get out. So I told him, if you have investors who are asking for more, but you don't want to give them more, I can sell them my share. And this was really what happened. So I was able to exit because he was able to grow the company and prove that it works. So if anybody has a question, I would like to.
Thank you, Sami. Any questions to Sami? No questions to Sami.
What's your favorite LMT section?
What is what favorite? What is your favorite LMTA section?
What is my favorite LMTA section? Well, it depends the time of the year. Now, at this time of year, you have to be in the valley. So, being in the valley, you go to the valley of Kadisha, which is really very beautiful trail, and it is UNESCO trail also. So it's lovely at this time of the year. Now, if you ask me in summer, I'll tell you to go at a higher altitude.
Any other questions? I need to write the dédicace, so I need another question.
Yes?
What are the most important and crucial qualities you want to find in investors, or in entrepreneurs you want to invest in?
Well, when I am investing to start with in a startup, I am investing in the entrepreneur himself because the business is still at a very starting point. So I want to have an investor with passion, who really is passionate about what he is doing, because entrepreneurship is really a hard business. I mean, there are long hours, it is very risky, you don't know what the outcome is, so unless you have the passion, you won't be able to make it, and of course the knowledge. And I want this entrepreneur to be capable of building a team around him. If he is going to do it as a one-man show, he's going to fail.
Thank you.
One more question?
Yeah.
Luna,
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
My question is very specific. How do we convince investors to go in this round and not wait for the next one? Why would he want to go in early and not the next one?
Well, you know, the early round is a risky round because you're really buying a dream. The second round and the third round, you already have got a track record. and you have more or less an idea how risky this business is or what are the chances of success. So in our business, in the venture capital world, we have many levels of venture capital. We have venture capital who invest in startup, in seed capital, or in growth phase, or in Series A, Series B, where the amount will get much bigger, or a pre-IPO. This is when a company is ready to be listed on the exchange. But each one has its own risk and its own reward.
Thank you. I'm going to stop. No, it's okay. We're going to stop. I have to. This is the book. The book actually is a great, because I'm very lazy. So I'm asking friends to contribute. Sami was one of them. So I'm going to read the first paragraph and the last paragraph of his text. And there is a picture of both of us that we took a few months ago here. So he said, during one of my many hikes with François Barras, who was the former Swiss ambassador to Lebanon, he stood in awe on a cliff overlooking the valley of Adonis, I could remember the point, and said, "Que c'est beau." This testimonial reinforced my conviction about the genuine beauty of our country, Lebanon, and encouraged me to explore more of it. However, beauty is most enjoyed and appreciated when shared, hence the walks that we do together. I jump to the last portion, is that the provides with many. It was only when I discovered the stunning natural beauty of Lebanon away from the ugly political side that I truly understood what Khalil Gibran meant in terms of I have my Lebanon, you have yours. Let's make it our Lebanon as well by hiking, becoming part of our way of life, and let us be proud of being Lebanese. Thank you. No, this is. You want another? We could. I'll give you another. Okay. So this is for both, but we could give. You have. I need one for Frida and one for. If not, we'll give you an. Oh, we have. We'll give you another one. Okay. We'll see you. Thank you. Thank you, Sami. Okay. What I measured. We're here about investments, and one of the key messages that you had is that you cannot do investments without creating an impact. Financial return alone is not enough. It's not enough anymore. And if you really want to make an impact and really want to encourage investors to come and be interested, you have to be able to demonstrate your impact. This is a new field. It's a new field because a number of us don't know how to measure it. What is impact? How do you go about tracking it? How do you go about having a proper system institutionalized in your organization to be able to do it? So hence you could put it and present it to your investors, and these investors feel that you have what it takes, and the value of your organization increase, and the willingness of investors to invest is increasing. Now, my friend Yasser is probably one of the first, actually he's the first, who introduced the whole concept of ESG certification, which is basically environment, social, and governance, and the way you could track it here. He has been auditing and certifying more than 150 companies in the country and across the region. I've asked him to be also short and sweet, like I'm going to ask Frida after his, in terms of explaining what he does and trying to tell you a bit what are the benefits of having this as part of your building your transformation plan and your transformation journey. Yasser, thank you.
I have most probably like 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Okay, I put my timer. So, okay. So, ESG, right? Okay. So we can click on the up. Okay. So what we know for sure, there is $151 trillion of assets under management that are looking to be invested in 2024. What we also know is that these $151 trillion have been increasingly invested in ESG funds or in companies that take ESG consideration seriously. So if you look back to 2014, we can see that only 1/3 or less than 1/3 of the money went to ESG, to companies that take ESG seriously. If we look at 2024, we can see that it's reversed. $80 trillion are invested in assets under management that take ESG seriously, and we're looking at this trend to continue increasing. In the same token, so when we talk ESG-aligned funds, we're talking about general ESG, renewables, water, climate focus, electric vehicles, religious values, gender equity, empowerment, and impact. And also at the same time, we are looking, if we look on a global scale, and here we're talking about the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Requirements, which are European regulation, that every fund that looks to be registered needs to register either under no designation or Article 6, 8, and 9, which are ESG certified, with 9 being the impact investments. We see that more than half of the newly registered funds around the world or in Europe are basically either are Article 6 or 8 or 9. So now that we made the case for ESG, so basically what we know, there is a global shift. This trigger, this inflection point that Constantin was mentioning earlier is also touching corporates around the world. So this trigger has happened, and there's a worldwide movement towards adopting ESG investing standards. Regulators are actively integrating ESG. There is anticipation of ESG mandated assets to keep on rising, and there is really a big rise in the amount of funds that are being registered. And most probably we expect that regulators around the world will stop registering funds in undesignated. Every fund has to demonstrate their commitment to ESG. So, there is a digital transformation around the world. As you have noticed, or maybe not, there are so many digital platforms today that put at the disposal of investors and fund managers tools that will allow them to expedite their adoption of ESG. Not to mention, there is a whole culture of, at least what I know, there are between the big four and the consulting firms, McKinsey's, the Bains, and the Strategy Ants, all have put ESG as one of their pillars in the next medium term in order to help companies comply with ESG. And as you see, there is a growing number of regulation around the world and standards, etc. But where did it all come from? And this is very important, and this is the most important thing to take away from what I'm going to say today. Is basically the world is changing, and the world is changing so fast, and government action alone cannot do the job unless we engage the private sector and investors alike in order to participate in continuing this transformation towards a more sustainable world and a circular economy. But we have to know what's been happening in the last at least 10, 15 years. So we had the 2008 crisis because ESG is not new. I mean, as long as there were environmental activists and social activists, as long as there are people that have been measuring the degradation of the climate around the world, companies and activists have been calling for this change. But 2008 changed so many things. In 2008, one, there was, of course, the crisis. Two, there was, right after that, it was the right of the activist investor. So shareholder activism basically emerged. And that's when shareholders said, we're not going to invest, we're not going to vote with our feet anymore. In other words, just sell and walk away from anything that blinks red. On the contrary, whenever it blinks red, we're going to ask the question, why is it blinking red? And we're going to be activists and basically make a lot of money out of it. I'm sure you heard about Bill Ackman and Carl Icahn. If you didn't, please research them and look at shareholder activism. And with it, we have what we call the rise of the purpose-led organization. With it came what we call the design thinking, which basically any Stanford student or anybody that learned about design thinking knows that basically to create value, you have to invest in a purpose-led organization, identify a human-centered problem, and continuously attempt to solve it. And basically the purpose-led organization can sustain its existing through time. So it led us to a definition of ESG. So ESG is about, demonstrating how a company is governing its financial capital, its environmental capital, and its social capital in a sustainable way. So the definition of sustainability comes with the three definitions. It's about financial sustainability, environmental sustainability, and social sustainability. They come the three together. And this is what we call the integrated reporting movement that also started around the same time in 2008, 2009. And from it, we derived what we call the ESG movement that we are talking about. Around the same time, so what is governance? Basically, governance is about one, commitment to transparent and accountable practices. It's about the relationship between management and the board. It's about strategy formulation and strategy implementation. It's about oversight. It's about responsibility and how responsibility is distributed about the firm. It's about fighting the asymmetry of information between the board, management, and shareholders. It's about being transparent. And of course, it's about the control environment of the firm, the responsibility of the internal audit, the external audit, and of course, the quality and the depth of the reporting that need to reach the ultimate stakeholders. And here, whenever we define the ultimate stakeholders, it's not anymore the shareholders alone. It's about any stakeholders or the community that could be impacted from the practices of a company. So environmental is about greenhouse gas emissions, about water management, waste management, resource efficiency, etc. So what does it mean, right? So the same way Constantin was trying to discern and explain the financials, which basically I'm totally ignorant about, the same way we need to measure and report on the following impacts on the environment. So every company under ESG has to measure its impact, has to present a strategy on how they're going to mitigate and decrease their impact, all these impacts, and they have to report on basically on a quarterly basis. They are listed companies, or they have to report to shareholders whether they are meeting the strategic objectives of the firm. And here, basically, it's not the financial strategic objectives alone. Here we're talking about environmental strategic objectives. Similarly, it's the social. So how are we combating child labor? How are we combating forced labor? How are we promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion? How are we fighting any violation against women and the rights of women, vulnerable groups, etc.? So every company has to report, measure, and has to have strategies that are able to deliver results. So we are going to, and this is exactly what ESG is all about. So in addition to the financial layer, there are two additional layers that require measurement using international standards. And here there are competing international standards on the market. There is the GRI and the SASP, and there are others that are emerging. So everybody is competing to become the IFRS or the GAP of the financial market. But basically, the GRI and the SASP have demonstrated to be in the lead. Everybody else is following, but every company is supposed to measure and to report and to adopt strategies. And their ability to efficiently and successfully mitigate impacts on environment and society is a comparative advantage that will be driving the trillions of dollars of the world. So companies that are capable of having a better impact will be more attractive to investment. They'll be more able to capture value and to grow value through time. So, and around the same time, the SDGs also were launched back in 2014.
What's SDG?
The Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals were launched back in 2014 or announced. And being ESG compliant or being ESG certified also means that we have satisfied all 17 SDGs. Okay. Of course, you hear a lot about companies that adopted one, like we are SDG 5 or SDG 3. In our case, whenever you are ESG compliant, you are required to show that you are progressing on all SDGs. Human rights are indivisible. You cannot respect child labor and disrespect women's rights. You cannot respect women's rights and disrespect the environment or diversity or water or greenhouse gas emissions. So what is the journey? So every company needs to undertake its own self-assessments, right? And these self-assessments, 1 minute and we're done. You have to undertake your own assessment. There is a platform that will be launched within the coming couple of weeks. It's called the ESGSP. This, you can undertake your own self-assessment, you create your own action plan, and you start developing your own strategy towards becoming ESG compliant.
Very important point. Very important.
Okay, so in a nutshell, this is all I have to say, and voila. The world is changing, and so must we.
Thank you.
On the dot. Any questions?
Yes.
Do you know the percentage of carbon in the atmosphere?
I don't know it by heart, no.
Do you have an idea?
No.
0.038%.
Yeah.
Do you know how much the carbon is actually influencing? Emissions are therefore very minute. When they say carbon, it has a very minor impact on the greenhouse effect. So there are a lot of there's today a consortium of climate experts who have signed a manifesto online, and they belong to 150 countries all over the world. It's called climateintelligence.org,
okay,
who refute the theory of the man-made intervention or the man-made responsibility in the climate change. It says that there is climate change, but it's not man-made. There is no carbon. The carbon is very minute. Because of such a small percentage of carbon in the air, any carbon emission is having very minute repercussions on the general climate change. And therefore, they want to refute, to push back the theory of the responsibility of human intervention, and want to diffuse the tension or the future usage of carbon credits to go against that will be used in order to.
We need to wrap it.
Yeah. In order to have the responsibility of the people in the carbon industry or the carbon emission is very small. This is what I want to.
Okay. Look, I'm going to answer on behalf. You're absolutely right. I've heard this point a number of times. Okay. ESG is not only about carbon. Okay. ESG about a number of other dimensions that include water, that includes every use of fertilizers, includes social, job creation, etc. on it. So carbon, you're right, is an important point. You want to maybe to add?
Basically, in a very short way, ESG are anchored in what we call the business and human rights guiding principles. So the first responsibility a company has is the company has to recognize that the risk exists, and the company has to demonstrate that it's going to do something about it. And this is all we're saying. Whether there is greenhouse gas emissions and what's their impact or not, right? We all agree. At least in Lebanon's winter, this winter, it's a different winter. From the ski season when I was a kid, we used to start skiing end of November in Lebanon. Today we start skiing in January. Seriously. In February, this is madness. There is climate change, it's upon us. What's triggering it, I'm sure that we have something to do with it. So and every corporation and every individual has to do something about it, at least to stop the fast degradation of what we have been witnessing.
Thank you.
I don't know if we have time to talk about it, actually.
No, we don't.
Just now.
Yes, we do. Any other final
Basically,
questions? Yes.
What makes ESG different from, for example, ISO 26?
Okay, good question.
Where governance is more element practice and launched earlier than ESG. Is it a marketing approach for a new terminology with a concept which is so similar, even in the reporting and the way we conduct gap analysis? What makes it different?
The difference is the responsibility of the board of directors. Until today, practices of companies, right, are limited, are the turf of management. ESG is about the right distribution of responsibility throughout the firm, right? And ESG captures every ISO effort, you know, whether it's a 14,001, 1425, 26, 27, or the 14,000, or the 26,000, all the ISOs are captured in an ESG program. But the most important thing, it holds responsible the 9 elements of management, from policy making to reporting and monitoring. Not only the measurement and the QMS part of management. It's about the whole firm has to be part of a strategy formulation and implementation and monitoring and reporting, etc.
Thank you. Look, there is a lot to discuss about this subject. What's important is that he made it available for startups so that you could start on it, do your own assessments, understand what are the questions that you need to be asking yourself, and start doing this. As you grow, you will reach out and try to get some more help. I'm reading it first. So the title of the book is A Taste of Wonder, Quand nos âmes dansent, so when our souls dance. So let these pages, and I'm read it because this is what my friend has been doing by sharing his passion with as many social enterprises across the world. Let these pages awaken the dormant sense of marvel that reside within you, and may they inspire you to seek, share, and savor the moments that make life truly extraordinary. For it is in the act of sharing these uplifting moments that we not only enrich our own life, but also become beacons of light, casting ripples of wonder into the world around us. Let the journey begin. And this is what Yasser has been doing over the past years. Thank you. Okay, we're going to continue. We're going to shift subject. You heard it from an investment side. Sami has been doing it. He had a big, in the London days and area. By the way, he's also represented Lebanon in the ski Olympics back in 1968. So he was, where was it? In Innsbruck? In Innsbruck. So it was, so what we have, you heard it from the whole issue of impact. Now we're going to shift gears. What you do at the end of the day, for you, you need to be aligned. You need to be aligned yourself with what you want to do with this organization that you're setting up. You need to be aligned between your values and the vision that you have. You need to be aligned with the people that are around you are sharing this alignment. You also need to be aligned with future investors. This is something that is not quantitative. It's not about financial projections. It's not about ESG impact. It's really about trying to find within you the energy and actually the love in order to be able to get alignment and make sure that whatever choices you have to make are choices. So we're shifting gears from what I call a very rational Cartesian outlook, which is to one which is much more leading to, in some ways, more emotional and spiritual, but the two are complementing each other. So some of you might feel that it's a journey that you have not explored. Trust me, you will need to explore it at one point in time. I'm asking Frida to come and to join her journey. Frida also has been joining us in a number of the spiritual retreats through her musical group, also like Raja. Lama is changing the slides. Lama? Or you know which...
no,
yeah.
but I can try.
Okay.
So hello everyone, what a pleasure, what a joy it is to come together to talk about social impact, to talk about bettering the world with our businesses. I think all of us, or most of us, have been waiting for these days, and we used to talk about them. No, it should be, and now we're there. And thank you, Constantin and Lama, for making sure that all the best practices are going towards a greater good for one, that's also the greater good for all. يعني الحلم يتحقق. Thank you guys. So, and thank you for the intro. My name is Frida. I am a singer-songwriter. I'm an educator. I taught in university for 10 years. Now this summer I'm working with younger children again. I do women's circles. We do retreats together. So if I had to find like the common thread in all these things that might look different is the fact that I have known, luckily very young, that there is an insane human potential in every individual. So there's a genius that's there. And I was lucky enough to stumble upon a way to awaken what was within me and then people around me. And what's super interesting is that the main factor that pushed me to explore and research and look for answers was the working with the businesses, which I did for like now 20 years. So I was in as a brand strategist, then I realized it wouldn't work without management, so I became a management consultant until I get to coaching. And as I was going through those different experiences, luckily enough, what I call my noble anger, because it's an anger I'm not trying to get rid of because it's not destructive, was seeing all those businesses talk about waste of money. We didn't want to waste money, we didn't want to waste time. After, with a bit of evolution, we started talking about green and ecology. And how about the waste of human potential that's inside the business? شو هيك؟ يعني we watch it happen and we're okay when we know that if we find a way to trigger what Constantin was talking about, the fire, the passion, the alignment between what one person wants, what we think, the words we say, and the actions we take. Until we're there, I think we still haven't witnessed what a business can truly be, and this is why we're all here. Given that I only have a short and sweet amount of time and that the presentation is not... It is?
Sorry, I apologize.
أبداً عطيتيني وقت الانترو على القد. كله بوقته عظيم. So we don't have much time, except that the pressure is not on me really, because most of the slides are questions to you. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna flow with it. عليا وعليكم. We're gonna flow with the presentation. If at any point we feel we need to go a bit faster, we will figure out a way as we go. بعدين كتير حلوة الترانزيشن من هيدا سلايد لأول سلايد عندي. I thought it was that's still the same. There you go. So as Constantin was talking about, he spoke of alignment. So as we were saying, the alignment of what we believe, with how we lead our lives, with the decisions we take, thank you, with the actions we take. So, c'est la présentation fantôme, yani. Okay, thank you. And this is how we go. So that actual sentence, now that I was here today, I can see how really aligned we all are. Because what it says is the greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence. It is to act with yesterday's logic. Well, alhamdulillah, nahna today, none of yesterday's logic applies anymore. So in a way, it's easier to step outside our programs and know everything we know is no longer something we can count on. So, aligning with abundance. The alignment that we were here talking about, and it's true, you're going to see it's a bit more about who we are, how we make our decisions, how we show up into the world. But at the end of the day, the link with creating wealth is going to be super clear to you. And this is how this presentation falls within the intention of these 3 days. Okay. A thought experiment. This is where we're going to play a bit together. Do you know, or could you define in a few words what a thought experiment is? Einstein fans, أنا منه أخذتها. So what Einstein used to do, he used to ride his imagination to find logical, scientific output. But because if he didn't do that, he would use the same thinking processes that were already there, and he wouldn't have invented or discovered anything. So that's what we're going to be doing together. Obviously, no right or wrong answers. It's just how you perceive your intuition, your first burst. Meet Nada and Dana, two imaginary people who might very well be people we know very well. Okay? And this is how we're going. I'm not sure you're seeing, but I'm going to use my voice to make sure. So we're seeing a little bit the psychographic aspect of Nada and Dana, who they are. Both of them are mothers and they have 2 kids, right? Both of them are in a top management position. They have big teams that they're leading, so a lot of deliverables, a lot of things are asked of them. واضح? Both of them have someone that helps them at home. لحتى نكون we're setting an equal, if you want, in the exterior architecture, same thing. And both of them have a very busy husband. So mothers, kids under 10, a lot of work. في مين يساعدون بالبيت, husband super busy, same profile. Now I'm going to read to you 2 different behaviors that these 2 women might have, despite the same criteria. And we're going to use our imagination and our intuition to see What's the difference and how can we live such divergent lives with the same parameter but with or without the topic of the session alignment. So ندى أول شيء. ندى أنجا عندها وقت, she barely has the time to do what she has to do every day. So she wakes up already running, stressing that I need to get it all done. Therefore, by a consequence, and I think we can all relate to that at some point, always feeling she's not doing enough. يا عم بقصر يا ريت في اقعد مع الاولاد يا ما عم بقدر لحق اعمل training للتيم. There's always something because she doesn't have time to do it all. There's always a place where she feels she's not doing enough. And obviously time to recharge, تهتم بحالها, تاخد وقتها at the bottomest of the longest list of priorities. So when you ask Nada, for example, why aren't you taking? She's like, مين بده ياخد هلا وقت اقعد اعمل تقولي لي اعمل نص ساعة whatever sport بالنهار انجا عم لحق واوصل على الشغل. So that is Nada, right? I'm sure you can think of people we know with more or less that archetype. Now let's see Dana, same thing, mother of two, etc. Dana, we were talking about it. Dana starts every morning with a 30-minute routine. That's for her. It could be working out, it could be meditating, it could be Pilates, it could be breath work, whatever makes her happy. It could be laying down in bed, just feeling relaxed. So every morning, she has Pilates twice a week. She hardly ever misses it. Sometimes she has to, but in general, she can actually make both. And she just decided she wanted to do something with her hands. So every Thursday evening, she's trying now a pottery class to see if it's going to call her or not. First question, with the psychographic, with the criteria we saw in the previous slide, do you believe that a Nada might exist? يعني someone who doesn't have. But do you believe that a Dana might exist?
I envy her.
هلا رح نشوف how we will shift حبيبي. اسم الله عليك انت. So we have Dana and Nada, both of them same criteria, but for some reason super different lifestyles. Now we're going to play another game. We won't do them all, but let's see what you guys feel. عنا ندى ودانا. Okay. We're going to talk about abundance of time now. As you saw, I spoke more about time than money for a very simple reason. Time also is important to us, it resonates, but it has less self-limiting beliefs of how to make money. So I chose time because the same applies exactly, but at the same time we are a bit freer in how we consider إنه إذا بيجي وقتها بخلق لها وقت. So it's a bit more flexible, so I chose to go there. So first question, Nada, what do you believe? There's no right answer أصلاً. مش there's no right answer لنوصل على الشيء آخر شيء وصلتكم عليه. So it's you and I together playing a thought experiment. What do you believe that her belief on time is? يعني براسها وقت بروح بسرعة. Short, never enough time. I'm always late. Even when I get on time, I'm late. أنا وتايم قاعدين بوجه بعض ونشوف مين رح يربح آخر شيء rather it being my ally. So that is the belief on that. Let's see the perception of self. ندى بعدنا ندى. Overwhelmed. مقصرة never enough. نحن ديجا النسوان والعرب عنا إياها بقى ندى steroids. Never enough, never good enough, never doing enough, never enough. شو كمان perception of self? Not very important أنا. ما أنا sacrifice. إنه إذا الأولاد مناح أنا المهم وإذا التيم مهمة أنا عنا هاي كمان. Energy levels هيك عندي أي شيء بتطلع الطاقة بيخلص الميتينج فردتي. يسلم هالتم لأنه كله alignment will go back to a center. What do you want to align? Things outside of you بده يكونوا جواتنا alignment. So everything يعني she meets someone who's on a good vibe in her team. بارح صاحبت. The day goes well, she's productive. بعدها بجمعة she meets someone in the team comes مفقوس انفقس النهار انفقحت productivity. So where is the power? Where is me? أنا I choose where I stand rather than whatever comes my way بياخدني وبيجيبني على ذوقه. Okay. Actions are mostly driven by guilt. Impulse. إيه لأنه كله reactive. إنه يا الله. Sense of emergency is driving everything. For those of you who know the Johari window with urgent, important, not important. ما في urgent كل الوقت, not important doesn't matter يعني. علقانين بالركضة. Okay. anxiety. بعدين obviously she doesn't sleep well لأنه anxiety. فبتوعى بكرة أصلاً مكسرة. يعني you can imagine all of that. Look at where we began. I just want to point out one thing. Here, the belief already مبلشين بسكيزوفرينيا لأنه what I believe and what I really want عكس بعضهم. يعني من هونيك بلشنا to scatter the alignment. What I really want is to have time. I believe I don't have time. تعايشوا مع الاثنين عم بيتخبطوا بجوا. We all can relate to that one way or another. So, with a personality or a lifestyle, an energy, however you want to look at it like that, Nada will easily attract naggers, people who are feeling helpless, negativity. Hey, tell me more. Why? حطيت أحيان شيء بالدنيا حدا مسكر الآن بالسيفير سيندروم sacrificial mode easiest to manipulate. عن جد إيه لا مالي إذا ما عندك وقت بس هي صارت هي CEO فجأة عم بتعمل غير شيء. So very easily exploitable لأنه black emotional blackmail. So that is Nada. بعتقد فهمنا Nada شوي. Let's do the same for Dana. It's about the alignment between your perception, your behavior, your action, what you want, and who you are. But yes, life is all about perception, à la base. So in that case, of course. Let's go to Dana. Prevalent belief about time. Abundant. منضلنا ندبرها. في وقت لكل شيء. Managed, manageable. The maximum, I will learn how to better organize my time. I will optimize my time. If I need to learn a couple of skills, I will learn the skills. Time is on her side. تخيلوا يلي حاطي time ضده. When are you going to win? Same applies to money. نحن عم نحكي time. You will know where to apply. Same applies to money. Same applies to love. Same applies to beautiful people in our lives. Same applies to all kinds of abundance. Okay. Perception of self. Good self-esteem. فيها توصل للكوين. فيها تكون بيونسي وأنا مسميتها ندى هون ما بنعرف بس إنه of course there is I'm good with me. I'm important.
In peace.
I'm in peace or I am on my way to the peace.
At least she has a future prospect of self-actualization. Even if she is still not there, she's hopeful.
She's more than hopeful. لأنه أصلاً self-actualization is not a hop tough. Now I got my diploma in self-actualization. It is I step into a weaker version of me, then I realize I self-actualize in this and then in that. So yes, definitely she already had a few and she has good odds for what's coming. فهمنا الفكرة. I'm gonna go by and see. Okay. Any kind of relationship, business relationship, friendship, يا أختي تقطع تاخد الأولاد على المدرسة, any kind of interaction. If you had the choice between Nada and Dana, ومش أنا حبيبي ومش لأنه نادا مش معقول ما بتنطقش ونيجاتيفيتي بومي يعني يعطيكي ألف عافية يا ندى بس حبيبة قلبي يا ندى. We are all created for harmony. The system ليه بنعرف؟ لأنه this harmony creates stress, creates disease. So أنا إذا I'm born for harmony, when I'm going to be around someone who's exuding harmony, I want to be around them versus being around someone where I need to contract and protect myself. So it is only normal. Huh?
Is she sincere or is she narcissistic?
لا. I know, honestly, I had in mind an actual archetype, يعني a woman that I know well, for this and for that, and both of them are people I adore, بس أكيد بقضي وقت أكتر. يعني إذا أنا شوي تعبانة دانا بتقلي بقطع عليك بقول لها إيه؟ أنا شوي تعبانة ندى بتقلي بقطع عليك بقول لها حبيبي اليوم رح ننام بكير تركيها لبكرة. بس they both exist in my life.
And we could be both Nada and Dana.
In cycles in life. But usually when Dana discovers the Dana way, we can fall into all the reflexes, but the choice is Dana. Okay. So,
They can't coexist.
Same age? Are they same age?
يعني في فرق بيناتهم شي 3 سنين بالنسبة لي same age بس الأولاد نفس العمر. So What I'm trying to tell you, when you find someone, أصلاً فكروا بالrole models or the inspiring people that you know. They think something, they say it, they act upon it, and they exude it. Yani we all gravitate around alignment because alignment makes us feel good. We mirror that alignment. It inspires us, and therefore it is magnetic. It will attract a lot of things. The beautiful ones, tougher ones, this is where discernment comes into play. The more aligned you are, the more magnetic you become, the more you need to perfect the skills of discernment. لأنه كل العالم عبالها تقعد حدك. If you are exuding this, all businesses will come and come, but you will have to know now, بطلت السكيل كيف بدي أجيب، صارت كيف بدي أعرف، نقي. ما absolutely. Dana?
She is reliable. I am not going to build up a relationship with somebody that is not going to give me things in the time I want.
But it's so interesting that you thought, or I didn't speak about thank you, I didn't speak about reliability and delivering results on both. But what's interesting, you chose to ask me the question about Dana, not Nada, although I didn't say that Nada was reliable. That's how our mind imagines. No, it's impossible to be a Dana and reliable. It's harder. But Nada can also be that. You know what I'm trying to say? What you're saying exists, but it can exist in both. The nagger who goes like, I don't have time, I know I promised you, but you know, we also have this, but for sure. So thank you. Now what I'm gonna add in the parameters is reliable, delivers, so it's clear. Thank you very much. So, this is about an individual. هلا رح نروح بسرعة لأنه خلص. What I did now is just for the logic to be super clear. Now applying it to our business is gonna take not much time. So if this applies on an individual, so if I'm aligned, if I believe and I take the action, taking action is where I answer you a bit because it's not people who just speak. If what I feel, what I believe, this which is Constantin when he spoke about his transition, how he transformed what he was doing, was he realized that he was not in alignment. And then, whoa, what is it that I truly want? What is it that I truly believe? What is it that I can truly do? He aligned them, he started, and this is where he got, and this is what you teach all of us, Habibi. Thank you. So what are if we're talking about alignment, so when we're talking about a human, we said mind, heart, word, action, yeah? In a business, what are the aspects that you believe should be aligned for us to really have a magnetic business? What and what?
Mission, vision, and strategy.
The mission, the vision, and the strategy in alignment. غيره. The values with مع كل الميشن والvision. Yes. What did you say? Culture, people, in alignment. The person and what they're doing. يعني خلينا نفكر ميكرو شوي أكتر. لأنه at the end of the day, if someone is in alignment doing something, no one not in alignment will be able to do it better. The person who's in alignment, they have the passion, they have the skill, they want to learn, they are ready to change and to transform. So in the business, same thing. When you have two businesses, let's say the products, services, offerings, pricing are quite similar. If you have one in alignment, so what they are saying is what they are doing is how they are picking their people and how they are picking their investment opportunities. لأنه for those of you who've been there, you've been in a place where it took 4 or 5 months, maybe more, with the stress, the ups and the downs. And if the vision is not in alignment, either it stops working or it starts and then you say يا ريت ما زبطت. Same like in relationships. So we said people and what they are doing. We said the value with the culture, the teams, how they operate. What else? What I offer with my strength. Yeah? What I'm offering with my strength also need to be in alignment. What else? The products and the services that I'm creating, are they aligned with my creative, because I want to bring something new, or are they aligned with my fears? Also that. And who spoke of marketing? I think it was Sami. And the story, so the communication, the branding, all of that also if it's aligned with the truth. So if we want to recap it a bit fast, we would go here. Sorry for the first one. So we've brought down all of the different aspects of alignment because we can have 48 alignment points, yeah? But I mean in categories and families. So aligning people with what they do. And without that, from my experience, and I've worked with startups, SMEs, big corpo, local, global, etc., if this is not there, the rest is much, much harder to get to. Aligning the individual talent with the team. So that's another problem you face a lot, especially in bigger businesses, where in the team, and there's drama, there's stress, there's pressure, and then we see difference as being something that we need to fight. So aligning the team, we give them a big, beautiful collective vision يلي بتشبههم لأنه من الأول منقينهم in alignment, or we train them to really be in the right place. So that is the alignment with the teams. Then you have the business, how it is operating with the most distinctive strengths. Yani I don't think I need to tell any one of you how counting on our strength and making them stronger is much more efficient than becoming less weak. Yeah. So when you manage to take your strength and turn them into processes, procedures, product, all the foundations of the business, then you have the communication with the compelling essence, because we have inside a lot of things. What am I going to use in my marketing? What story do I want to tell? What colors am I using? In alignment again. And the last one, you spoke of products. It is about products and services. Are they aligned with the old model, with our comfort zone? Are they aligned with the real? If we are a young entrepreneur, so how much of your true creativity you're bringing into your products and services? So, and this is the program that we are implementing with businesses. I came back to the business world after a hiatus of a few years so I can freshen up my mind a few months ago. It's doing wonders. So you have, it's workshop based. All of them are workshops, yeah, but depends on your needs. So some clients, after the discovery session, I come and I tell them, you know what, I think you should do one workshop, creative forces, one togetherness, lessons from water, and then you need to rethink your brand and communication. Or it could be all five. Or, for example, I have a client now, we're doing a 6-month program, 3 modules in creative forces and 3 modules in togetherness, because the big problem they have was really they grew too fast, the culture wasn't able to keep up, and so this is the problem we're solving. So this is pivotal. There you go. It is the business we have started. We are so super happy to bring all those alignment and fire and passion and purpose to the business in this new, it's workshop-based, a lot of creativity, a lot of rewiring how we approach business thinking and things like that. So this is pivotal. Write down هون ما رح تقدروا تشوفوها. To reach out or book, we're doing a free discovery session. It's 20 to 25 minutes, so we tell you what we believe the shortest, fastest, most efficient path to what you really want. So the email here, for those of you who can't see it, is going to be in your inbox when she sends the slide. So thank you for this. I think I used all of the time, including the Q&A time. So we will definitely have the chance to converse at some point or another. And you have our email, any questions, any ideas. This is something that's going to be built in the collective. So if you feel the calling, if you would like to give workshops, if you feel the fire, just reach out. لأنه it takes a village to build a whole new world. Thank you. جيدا شحلاوي بس اسم الفنة والببليك سي فريدا وانستا فريدا to the soul.
Now in the book, I go back always to the book, there is a conversation between myself and Frida. So we discuss about how do we actually reach to the state of wonder, and once you get to this state, how does it allow you to really have your souls dance? So I owe a lot in this book to her and the discussion that we had. So thank you. So this is thank you. Thank you. So you were going to get the contact details of all the people, including Frida, including Raja, including Maurice that will talk. We're going to have now Professor Fouad, I'm sorry, Fouad is here. We're going to give the certificates for you, And then, but we will continue. So this is not the end. We still have Maurice, and we still have a couple of topics which are important that we want to cover on your preparation in terms of investment readiness. Fouad, c'est Lama. Tu vas dire les noms et tu.
Mais avant, je veux dire merci d'avoir. Vous avez parlé en français ou en anglais?
Comme tu veux.
Qu'est-ce que vous avez parlé?
Anglais.
En français, on va aller en français. Et écoutez, tout d'abord, j'aimerais vous féliciter parce que on a eu d'excellents feedbacks. On a eu d'excellents feedbacks d'un grand nombre d'entre vous et surtout de Lama et Constantin. On est très heureux de ce lancement. Et je sais que c'est pas évident pour rester 3 heures, 3 heures et demie à écouter, discuter et travailler. Ça montre que vous êtes tous passionnés et vous avez tous envie de reconstruire, de reconstruire les sociétés où vous êtes, parce que on est dans un monde en pleine restructuration. C'est vrai que le Liban passe par une période extrêmement difficile, mais la bonne ou mauvaise nouvelle, c'est que tout le monde passe quand même par une période extrêmement difficile. Et toutes les entreprises, toutes les personnes, tous les chefs d'entreprise ont besoin de se restructurer. Donc on a besoin d'apprendre de nous-mêmes et d'avancer. Donc on est très très heureux de coopérer avec CIS, c'est bien ça.
C'est un stage.
Voilà. Alors, c'est mieux de se tromper dans le nom d'entreprise que dans le prénom. Alors, Et toi, c'est une joke. Voilà.
I'm 30 years older, so I have a bit of a...
Voilà, donc on a des certificats de participation qu'on aimerait vous donner, signer. Gardez ça, parce que ça c'est très important pour vos CV et tout. On les donne de tout cœur, vous les méritez. Prenez-les très haut, vous avez une grande université quand même derrière et une super société avec des grandes personnes. Et surtout, je suis là pour vous dire qu'il y en aura d'autres. Constantin annoncera juste après, s'il veut, parce qu'on en a parlé, qu'est-ce qui va être fait en mai. Super conférence et ce cycle va continuer pour qu'on apprenne continuer. Voilà. Merci beaucoup Constantin, merci Lama, merci à notre vice-doyen. Alors, si notre faculté est extrêmement dynamique, c'est surtout pas grâce à moi, mais surtout grâce à l'équipe et surtout à notre vice-doyen, Dr Layal Bouantoun, qui travaille 23 heures sur 24.
طارق نجم دانيال بديع سيقلي كريستيان حداد بس ليقربوا غيدا Non, juste qu'elle vienne. Rémi. لا Non, Rime, fille Rime. Rémi. C'est quoi le nom de famille? شو العائلة؟ Non. فرج أمير. Non, ça c'est Rémi. Eli Chagouri. رشاد صقر. سمير حمادة. محمد صلح. مارينا عبود. لما. إندرا. بلانكا. ريان صعب. منال مدور. شهيد. شربل. ألكسندرا بنصر. ساري حواء. جوزيف. نسيب حداد. هذا جوزيف. إليان. علاء. يارا بطرس. علاء. روي حرب. رولا. صحبة. انت قريبة ما كان لازم تغرق لك. ميرا. فاكو. سامر. سامر دكاش. عز الدين كلاش. أسامة عز الدين. أحمد كردي. جوان. نبيه جوهر. إلي مر. بلا نبيه بيطلع له. Si. Au moins, il a pris le temps de m'appeler. Oui. إلي مر. عبد القادر الخطيب. هلا ريم. هادي نصر الدين. علي أحمد. أمين. ما بعرف
بس راح يعود ما له غير حل.
Après. Antoine. Des urgences. Antoine. رامي أنطون. سارة وينك؟ سارة. سارة كوسا. مريم حمود. ميشيل. ملاك. متري. فرح سلمان. الياس وين؟ فادي. لا لا الياس ولا محمد جوهري اسمنا هون عمر صقر هذا محمد عمر صقر voilà. سوري في حدا ما طلع له سيرتيفيكت؟ اوكي بدكم ترجعوا تعطونا اساميكم and you'll get your certificates okay
Since we couldn't take a joint photo
موريس
لكن we will take
هذا لموريس دكتور زمحول
وين
موريس
كيف صورنا عليكم كلنا سوا رح ناخد سيلفي كلنا سوا بس انا اطلب لكم just to raise the certificates مثلا كونستانتين هيك ها وين
I'm sorry لما بعثت الليست لليال
لما
أنا مش شايف معك.
And we'll see you very soon again, huh? In May to be exact, and he will present. Thank you. See you.
بليز بس اللي ما كتبوا اسمهم يرجعوا يتاكدوا يرجعوا يكتبوا اسمهم لان بعثت الليستات لدكتور ليال قبل ما رجعنا عملنا الكوركشنز للاسامي. سو بعتذر اتس ماي باد.
اوكي هلا we need to wrap up. عندنا للساعة 7:30 قد الساعة هلا؟ 7:15 بس خليكم معنا. هلا those رح اطلب منكم two things. And actually I'm asking you one thing and then to be able to and I'll give you something in return. Each one of you will get an electronic copy of the book because some of you have been asking me for the book. We'll be happy to give you an electronic copy of it. So this will encourage you. If you want to have a hard copy version, please contact me. You need to fill a survey. It's a very brief survey. This is important for us. It's important for us for two things because we need to hear from you what really you appreciated in this class. And if you want to give one or two sentences in summarizing the key learnings that you got, this is important with your approval to be able to put it and to publish it. So this is something that both USG and CS Touch feel strong about. This is the first thing. The second reason is because we need to know what are the other needs that you have in terms of capacity building and an executive program, because we have a number of portfolio of those and we are more than happy to put them, but we need to hear it from you. So when Lama will be sending you this to complete, please do this. Put your testimonial, one sentence or two sentences behind it, and then we will make sure also you get a copy of the book that we have published. So I'm going to pass on to Lama. We're going to cover two things. Once you are into, you mentioned cash flow a number of times, Lama is going to go into much more specific details about what you can do in order to sustain financially. And there is a number of things that are all related to your cash flow, but these are specific initiatives that are important. The second thing is what is the journey that you have to face. I'll probably cover this one from Lama. And we have about 40 minutes to be able to cover these two topics, which are fundamentals. Thank you.
Thank you. So we established yesterday, once you finalize your financial model, you might find a funding gap in it. So the cash flow will show you that you have a funding gap. And in case it's hard for you to access funding from external sources, from investors, you need to manage ways within the company to address this funding gap and to reduce the cash gap that you have. So what are ways to do it? First of all, we start with the income. So in the income statement, the operating expenses section. So one way is to move your variable cost, your fixed cost to variable cost. We heard Makarem yesterday saying that they changed the salary structure that they have. So they had to agree with their employees to change the way they're remunerating those employees from fixed salary to a variable one based on commission, based on a percentage of sales that they make, so as to reduce this OPEX charge that they have. Insourcing versus outsourcing. Also with Mark, we heard him that they let go of the manufacturing of the Cubex. They gave it to one of the employees and they outsourced. So anytime a client came to ask for that specific service that they used to provide, now they get it from the ex-employee and they get royalty for it. So this is thinking of ways outside the box how to outsource services that are weighing on your operations. Disposing of non-current assets. So you might reach a point where you need to think, how can I sustain for the end of the month, maybe one of those machines that I'm not using as much, one of these laser printers that I'm not utilizing as much as I used to, I sell it, I get the cash for it. So looking at the balance sheet and seeing how you can liquidate some of the non-current assets that you have, machines, equipment, cars, truck, and thinking how you can lease, instead of having those assets sitting on your balance sheet and draining up your cash, how you can sell them and use the cash for other operations. Tight working capital management. So working capital, as a reminder, is your your accounts receivables, your accounts payable, your inventory. So how do you manage those this working capital for you to get the cash that you need? So how do you do it? You work on your receivables policy, on your credit policy, how many days you're giving your clients to pay you back. You try to negotiate with your suppliers to get as much number of days as possible before you have to pay them. And the inventory, so working on a just-in-time or some other kind of very efficient inventory strategy, which is linked to the sales forecast. So you do your sales forecast, you know that you're expecting these revenues to occur. This is the exact right inventory size that you will need for it. And most importantly, adopting a short-term cash flow culture, which yesterday we mentioned. This is why you need to prepare your financial model on a monthly basis, not only on a yearly or quarterly, to know that at the end of this month, what's happening. So short-term, weekly, sometimes we look at it not to be squeezed on cash. On the other side, investments. So once we sit with startups that are expanding and are projecting big, large investments in the short-term and medium-term horizon, we say, okay, what if you are not able to get this money from investors? You need to reprioritize your investment needs. So one of the clients that we worked with, this is medium, not a startup, medium-scale operations. We said, okay, you need to delay the opening of a new showroom and the new points of sale, because this is a huge investment that you're going to pay, and this you cannot afford from your cash from operations. Given that you don't have access to funding from external investors today, you need to find ways to delay this large investment until you can afford it. What process do? Is we list the projects that they have. So if we go back to the financial model of yesterday, we had a list of CapEx investments, whether on equipment, machinery, you remember, development costs, etc. So we list those investments. We put for each investment what is the amount of funds required to acquire it, and what is the incremental revenue or incremental return that they will get from it, and we prioritize. So is return, incremental revenue. One of them is the strategic fit. So how much do I need it? How much other business units that I have depend on it? How much does it affect my brand image if I have it or I don't have it? So several dimensions, but the important thing is to have a framework list those investment opportunities, prioritize them along these ways. So here we're looking at ease of execution, strategic alignment, the reputation risk of having making this investment or not, impact on the brand, the urgency of doing it because of the dependence of other business units or other parts of the operations on it, and of course the very first criteria is how much do you need money for it, and how much incremental return would it get you. So here I will not repeat myself. This is the working capital. Work on these two. Work on the accounts payable. See how to optimize this working capital that you have. Examples include, just-in-time inventory management for inventory and linking it to projected sales level. For the receivable, setting credit standards, having a minimum amount, a maximum amount of orders that you can give, the period, specifying it, including discount or interest rules in it, and having it under a policy. So really standardizing the terms across your client base and working on them. If you have already receivables in the market that you have not collected, work on this collection, put efforts, specify a certain resource in your company to do active management of these receivables, and here negotiate your terms with your suppliers in terms of trying as much as possible to get a longer time before you need to repay. So here I mentioned those. So selling unwanted assets that are unproductive, that are tying up your cash resources. Another thing is if you have a truck, you own it, you can sell it and then rent. It would be it would give you more cash, and then you can rent it on a need basis. So here selling and rather than buying, or if you have something, you can lease it. Selling off unprofitable departments. Now here we're talking about somewhat more mature companies, but yesterday Mark gave the example. So Compost Baladi is not anymore a startup, but it's still a scale up. And what they did is they had a spin-off of that department because it was not profitable for them and it was eating up their resources. Subcontract and outsource. This is what you mentioned in terms of outsourcing certain services that don't make part of your core competencies as a company. So whatever you can outsource, your IT, your legal, your finance, your accounting, you can outsource it and reduce your burn rate, as Samia mentioned. Optimizing the OPEX structure in general, so locating and cutting down inefficiencies, reshuffling the OPEX. This is what biomass case mentioned. This is what Mark yesterday mentioned. This is what John Fawaz mentioned in terms of use of working around the OPEX structure. Performance-based commission, compensation based on commission and on bonuses instead of fixed salaries. Outsourcing, again, we mentioned this. And the cost volume analysis to make sure that you're efficient. You're not spending your money where you shouldn't do. This is the investment reprioritization. So this is the example of these are the investments that you had in the pipeline. This is the funding required for each. It can be an amount if you have it. If you don't have it at the first stage, you can still use the low, medium, high just to have an idea. But ideally, you will eventually have to quantify it. Then what is the incremental revenue or what is the incremental profit that you will generate from these investments? Is it strategically aligned? Is it easily executed, or does it involve a lot of risks? What is the ESG impact, going back to Yasser's points? And then you make the decision. So here in this example, we have low funding required, so low invested amount, very high returns. It is fit strategically with what you're doing. It's easily implementable, and therefore it's a go. While the others, which are opposite to this, I will not repeat myself, are a no-go or a hold for the moment. So this, just to conclude, the internal measures of financial sustainability, when you don't have access to investors, when you don't have access to external funding, and you need to do with what you have internally. And this is the case recently over this crisis period of all those startups and SMEs and corporates that have been operating in the country. You want to cover investment readiness? Yeah.
Okay, the slide that she showed is an important one. See, the key decision, if you ask, this morning we had the board of ABC. I'm part of the ABC group. It's probably one of the most profitable organizations that you have in Lebanon. What they did is they listed between IT, between marketing, between retail, between real estate. They had a list of about 100+ projects. Each of these projects had a certain amount of money, either capital expenditure or operating expenditure or working capital. So what we did is we went through this and used similar sort of methodology in order to be able to screen those and trying to find out which are the one that has the best return on investment. Not only this, which are the ones that are more aligned with what we want to be as an organization in 5 years down the road, which are the ones that are creating an impact that we have not been creating in the past, and which are the one is the easiest to be able to implement. So this process is a process of screening. And it's always very difficult because people are attached to these projects and they want them to make. But if you don't do it, if you spread yourself too thin, you will not be able to succeed in. So the issue here is focus. You have to focus on the one that are going to relate the most returns, not only financials, ESG and others, and coming back to Frida's point is in terms of the alignments that you have with your value system, with your strategic direction, and with your ability to be able to implement. So this is a very important exercise, and we spent 6 hours. This is one of the reasons why I was delayed. It took a bit longer because of the discussion that we had around this topic. But this takes place not only in large groups like ABC, but it also takes place with startups, even more so because the amounts of funds are available. ABC is very profitable, so they have the funds, but even in this process, we go through it in a very rigorous way. For startup, it needs to be even more rigorous that we have to do. The last one is, for instance, when we were with Wakilni, we came back about 2 days ago. Also, they had the list of it, and we had the limited amount that we wanted to raise, about $3 million on this, and how are we going to spend it? So this was also a big discussion that we have. So very critical. Now, what are the, the tips to have, you want to show the slide with the process? Exactly, this one. So this, okay, which one? She's telling me what to show, so this is good. No, the one with the journey is the easiest. Okay, so I'll end up doing whatever she wants me to do. Okay. All right, so we went through this, but I just want this process, you've seen, some of you have seen the slides already. I want to reiterate it. The process takes time. You think that you're going to raise money in a month or in 2 months, think again. It's going to take 6, it's going to take 9 months, because you have to go through the gap analysis, we went through it. You're going to have the articles. You might have other ways to look at your existing gap that you have. Rank yourself. Be honest about what you see. This is one of the roles that the coach has. This is the role that my cousin Raj has mentioned. Our role is to put the mirror in front of you. So it's not to, you put the mirror in front of you, but our role is to make sure that you see what you have in the mirror, and our role is to make sure that you have the courage to take the tough decisions in dealing with what you see in the mirror. This is the role of the coach. So it's really putting the mirror ahead of you. So the gap analysis is here to do this. The business model canvas, some of you are familiar, most of you will be familiar. We have a process, you could read it, it's available on the net. This is important, this is your first pass at your business plan. Then we move to a full-fledged transformation plan using what? A number of the templates that we shared with you over the past 3 days on it. The financial model, Lama keeps telling me, Constantin, why do you separate it? Because people, it's part of the transformation plan, but you need to understand it. You need to understand the 3 statements. You need to understand how income statement and balance sheet reflect in your cash flow situation, but you also need to understand how you put your model in terms of a forecast over the next 3 to 5 years so as to be able to define what is the value. The investment plan is similar from the transformation plan. The difference, transformation plan is more internal. Where are you? Where are you going? How are you going to get there? What is my role in this journey? The investment plan talks to investor. So what are investors going to be asking? They want to know how much money, how is the money going to be used? You know, what is my share of your organization if I move in? They want to know how can I exit? What is the most likely exit? When we sat down with Wakilni and the 3 investors, the investors' first question was, what is the exit strategy? Even before putting the money on the table, they want to know how they want to get their investment out of it. And you, as owners of your companies, you need to be able to help them answer this question. If not, you jeopardize your risk of being able to raise money. So the investment plan builds on this, but also includes other dimensions which are important in the eyes of the investor. The other one in the investment plan is once you get an investor, you're not anymore the captain, the only captain on board. You're going to have somebody else. You need to make sure that you are comfortable. What happens there is there's going to be terms and conditions. You do not take all the decisions. There's going to be some decisions where you, even though you're the majority shareholders, I will not let you take them without my approving those decisions. So we list those. So this needs to be discussed and make sure that there is a good mutual understanding. Once we've done this, then we could look at the different sources of capital. And there are different in Lebanon. We haven't covered those because of time, but you will have it in the slide set that you will receive. There is different in terms of grants, in terms of equity, in terms of debt funding here. And look at what makes more sense for you. You know, maybe grants doesn't make sense for you. Maybe what you need to do is you're at a stage where you could have the development and you want to get out of grants. At one point in time, you didn't ask the question to Mark, but it's becoming too complicated to go after grant. There is so much reporting to be done, so much coming in and micromanaging. At the end of the day, a number of people said, yeah, I'm with the grants. I don't want any more grants. I really want real money in order to be able to account and then run my business in the own way. So you have to be important to look at, and we help you in terms of the process. Once we have done this, when we definitely need to look at the valuation. And the valuation is, of course, linked to what? To your financial model. The financial model would drive the valuation, and we have different ways of looking at valuation, and we have helped different companies put their valuation and be able to negotiate and discuss the valuation with potential investors. It's an important process, and this is where a lot of the egos get bruised, because every one of you is convinced that your baby is the most beautiful baby in the world. If I ask Lama about her two daughters, Yasma and Lean, there is no more beautiful girls they are the most beautiful girls and you feel exactly the same way about your venture that she does about her own daughters. The reality is that it might be a bit different, and this is where ego needs to be adjusted, and we're here to help it, so if not to derail the process. Then we need to look at the selection. It's really a game that is important because you have different criteria. What matters to you? It's not only the money. If it's only the money, you might be in problems, because it's about the money, it's about the alignment in value, it's about a number of the points that Frida has been mentioned, it's about the trust that you have, it's about the time available, it's about the quality of the money. Not only the money is coming in, how much of the time and of the expertise that is the investor bringing in. Of course, when we are here, there's going to be due diligence. Now, Mitri, for instance, have gone through a couple of times on due diligence. There is a lot of questions being asked to legal documents, customers, suppliers, your bankers, your auditors. So there is a lot to be. So you have your data room needs to be ready and needs to be complete to be able, and you're going to have a list of these documents. Then we have the term sheet development and negotiation. This is when we sit down and we negotiate, and we're going to send you examples of term sheet. At this stage, my recommendation is you reach out to an investment advisor. You have to. You cannot do it. Even at earlier stages, to validate your financial model, to share with you the different sources of capital, to be able to help you come up with a valuation that makes sense, that we have. All this, you will need somebody to hold your hand. And this is why we've put you in front of other investors and advisors who've been through the process with a number of companies. So this is quite important. And of course, the exit is what every investors, that before they put every single dollar in it, they want to know how they could get the money out. Who could buy them out? When would they be bought out? At which valuation, most likely valuation, they will be bought out? All of these questions, you need to have answers. And alone, you won't be able to do it. But we have gone through and we'll be able to help you find them. And of course, the key risk areas is what we discussed yesterday, which is your risk management framework, because the investors would always use this with the due diligence in order to come up with what are the potential gaps and risk areas that you have. And if these risk areas are high, what happens? Your valuation takes a beating. So although we have agreed on a certain valuation, after I've done my due diligence, and after we went through the risk mitigation action that you have, we still believe that there are some risks that have not been factored in because they do have an impact on your ability to generate revenue and profit in the years that would affect your valuation. So all of this process takes time. The fastest we have done, who is from Beit al-Baraka? Okay, so you have two from Beit al-Baraka. So the fastest was actually Beit al-Baraka. So what we've done is I sat down with Maya Brahim Shah. So what we had, we agreed what is the amount that needs to be raised. We're going to do it in 2 phases in this case. So what it took us about a month to be able to put together the investment teaser, have a financial model ready, and be able to reach out. I reached out to my own network of business angels in this case, and then we reached and raised the amount of money. We organized a demo event at Beit Kenz on it. She described what the situation is. We had the term sheet ready. We had the investment teaser ready. This is the fastest that we ever were able to raise amount of funds. Typically, it will take you 6 to 9 months, and sometimes it could be even larger. Any questions on this? I know some of you have seen it. Yes?
But you were fast because they had the infrastructure and they were also ready.
They were. You're absolutely right. They were ready in terms of documentation. Are you also part of Beit al-Baraka? No? I don't have you. Very good, very good. No, they need to be loved and they need to be hugged.
Because this sets expectations also because in the room, I know all of us need investment, but you have to do the internal work. So
You do absolutely. So there needs to be work to be done. Now we're helping you. All this, if you want, these are the deliverables. You need to make sure that you have your financial model that we have discussed ready and prepared. And this needs to hold the ground. The worst thing you could do is present a financial model that is not rational. Yani you lose credibility completely. Our role is to tell you if it's valid or not valid. We've seen hundreds of those financial models, so very quickly we could tell you what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. You need to make sure that the valuation of your company also makes sense. You know, this is aligned with what we have. That you need to make sure that your pitch deck is ready, that it answers most of the question. It's not too long. It's really clear, succinct on it that you have. You need to make sure that we have a good. We had it. We had our investors. We have our own list. They know us. They've been working with us on this. You need to make sure that you map the funding sources available. You finalize your data room. Then you need to have a term sheet. We developed the term sheet for this. So by the time we did the demo room, the investment events, all of these documents were ready. But these are the typical sort of documents that you need. In here, in terms of a pitch deck, I don't want you, most of you have seen it. The pitch deck, always what you forget in a pitch deck is the investment rationale. It's the most important one. It's the first slide or the last slide or both. Why should I invest in you? Why? I have hundreds of other opportunities. Why you? You need to answer it up front. You need to answer it probably at the end of the day. The second point that we tend, what is the pain point that you're trying to resolve? Why? What is this need? What is this critical issue that you have? Very clearly, succinct doing it. Then how are you going to do it? It's the solution and your product. So what is the value that you're bringing in? This is a solution. What is the value that it's bringing into your target markets that you have? Then we look at the size of this market. How big is it? How do you segment it? Which is the segment that you're going to start with initially for the first 2 years, then after 3 or 5 years to it? This is important. These are all one slide. So what you have, the go-to-market strategy, we have your target market, we have our solution, we understand the pain points. So how are you going to go and sell it? How are you going to generate your revenue? So what is it? Is it direct sales? Is it through distributors? Is it retail? What is it you're doing? How are you differentiating versus all the others that are competing with you? One slide again. So what are these criteria? And we showed you templates for each one of those things. What is your business model, i.e. how you're going to generate revenue? Where is your revenue going to come? Is it subscription? Is it going to be straight deals? Is it maintenance agreements? What you have? Give an indication what you have done so far. This is an indication of who you are. What has you achieved? Certification, award, whatever it is. Show me, and this is the most important one, how are we going to grow? How are you going to scale? This is an important one in it. The team, of course, who are the teams? What qualification do they have? This includes also your advisory board. What are your financial projections? This goes back to the financial model. How much money do you need? How are you going to ask the money? And basically, what is the impact that you're generating? Not only financially, but also in ESG. So these are, no, go back. So in terms of slides, which are the most important one? The investment rationale is fundamental. This is very fundamental points that you have. Your ability to be able to differentiate yourself from others is quite important. And how is innovation helping you in doing this? The team is also very important. This is where we would focus. Is it a complete team? Do they have the skill set? Are they able to do all this thing? These are quite important things that you have to keep in mind. All of them, but these are the growth opportunities. So if you ask me where we focus, why should I invest in you? How are you going to grow? Who is the team behind it to make it happen? And how are you differentiating versus so many others that you have? These are tough questions to answer, and the tough part is to make it in a simple way. Simple way. I don't want to have big slides. I want to have succinct slides that you have. This is the difficulty. To do a pitch deck with 30 or 50 slides, everybody does it. But to bring it down to 10 or 12 and to have them with very clear character, not to have them all, is not easy. It takes time, it takes iteration. So this is the pitch. Then what we need to work with is how you are pitching it. And this is also very important. Look at how I talk. I talk with passion, but at the same time you need to make sure that these are rational elements that you have. You need to get this ability to be able to convince any audience that you have. The way you listen to your questions, have at the same time humility, and have at the same time you know your business and show that you have it. And this balance is not easy. And it's going to take a lot of beatings. Your ego is going to go through a lot of beatings. You think your wife or your husband is not treating you well? Welcome on board to do the pitching and listening to what investors are going to ask you to do. So this is actually a great process, because this is how you learn in terms of balancing between humility and knowledge. Next slide. Okay, so we have, I'm not going to go, so these are different sources of funds that are available. These are the typical, so it's either grants or it's debt. It could be subsidized, it could be straight debt. In the case of Beit el-Baraka, it was subsidized debt. In the case of, for instance, the Bani who is raising money, it's not going to be straight debt. It's going to be a full debt that we have. Convertible debt, in the case of Campos Baladi, we help them raise convertible debt. It's a debt, but we could convert this debt in 3 years down the road to equity, and we agree what is the valuation that we will have. This is good news, because this is good news for me. I have a debt. I get to know Campos Baladi and his team, but at the same time they get to know me, and in 2 years and 3 years down the road, I decide whether I want to exit from a debt or do I want to go and convert it into equity. And 3 years is a good time for both parties to get to know each other. SAFE is this and this. It's in between the two. What it is, it's a convertible debt with zero interest. There is no interest. We don't talk about valuation. I give you the money now, but what I tell you is I tell you that in 2 years, when we're going to convert and have a proper equity raise, I'm going to give you a discount on my valuation agreed at the time, not now, agreed at the time, 20% or 25% on it, because you have waited for me, waited with me in order to be able to get it. More and more of the investment, what Kilney started as a SAFE, what we did and we invested there, it was a SAFE instrument. Now what we're doing is a Series A. So $3 million is not anymore, it's going to be an equity. When we negotiated and signed the SAFE agreement, it was 20% discount and it was at a valuation cap of $10 million. Now what we're doing, raising at $12 million. So what is happening? I'm getting 20% on a valuation of 10 million, so I'm actually getting in at 8 million. What is the value that this is coming in? It's 12 million. What is happening here? I made about 35% return in a matter of 6 months. This, for the investor who came in as the SAFE, is a good news. So it could have been the other way around. Instead of 12 million, it could have been 6 million. That's the situation is. But this is an important, and it's picking up speed. So for those of you who are starting, who knows, and we don't talk about valuation. We put a valuation cap in here. The equity capital is straight equity. You invest, we agree on a valuation, we agree on how much money, we give you the money, we take share of the capital, we might or might not get a board seat behind it, and we go. So there is, and all of those are available in Lebanon. And they're available in Lebanon today. With all the crises that we have today, you have a number of programs that provide grants. You have also debt that is being provided. And we have been in contact, not we have been in contact, we actually closed ourselves from our own money more than 10 transactions over the past year in 2023. We're going to do the same. And like Lama and Constantin, you have about at least a dozen, if not 50, that are doing exactly the same thing. So we're in contact with them, they know us, we work together, and sometimes we co-fund and co-invest in it. So this is quite important. What is this? How do you decide? Okay, deciding on the partner is important. It's like getting married. So you need to make sure the most important one of this one is to make sure that you have alignment. Proven track record is important. How much completed transactions they have done and successful exit. The alignment in value is critical because really it's a marriage that we have. Making sure that you have the same outlook on how we're going to exit and what are going to be the key priorities moving forward. etc. I let you go through it itself, but at the end of the day, it's the same question that you would ask in trying of getting a soulmate into your life. You know, because this is a long-term relationship, the alignment is value is important, making sure that you could, if you have a soulmate, the soulmate is not here to feel you down, but really to uplift you. So who is the investors who's going to uplift you? Who is the investor that is going to sense what you need and really help you go, address what you have in terms of development opportunities and help you grow? At the end, it's really about uplifting each other. This is one of the definitions of love. I forgot who it was from, but he said the act of love is to reach out of your comfort zone in order to be able to uplift the loved one spiritually. So it's really about uplifting this, and this is the true essence of it. Now, for the investor, it might not be only spiritual, but trust me, the spiritual dimension is an important one. This uplifting is there. And you have a lot of relationship between investors and investee where this is not happening, where ego is taking into place, and it becomes a bittering and bitching game. And I've been through it, and I've seen some of those companies, and it's very painful, because then there is the worst of each of those that is happening in those sort of discussions. And at the end, we try to find ways to separate the best way possible. Next one. Okay, the company valuation, the funds, and we stop here. We have, where is Maurice? Maurice is ready? Okay, what time is it? 7:15? Okay, very good. Okay, so tips on fundraising. Do not aim for perfection on the first company valuation journey. Focus on the process instead. So this is important that you get essence to it. Make sure that you have, reach out for advisory services. You've met a number of investors. Maurice will come, he's also an advisor on it. You need advisory services. You will not be able to do it by yourself on it. Selection of your investment partner is the second most important criteria. So select your investment partner, take the time. Get to know each other, not only in terms of agreeing on valuation, how do they work, what sort of problem they have. It's really about getting to know this person because it's a long-term relationship. Always go for grants when you can at the beginning, and you have grants available. You know, Mitri is part of the program funded, as I said, by Life and by the Drossos Foundation. We provide the grants, we provide the coaching services, and you have a number of these by Beritech. You heard Maha coming in, Maha presented. They also have, AUB has it, USEC has it. A number of the universities have these accelerators. Always go for grants, but at one point in time you need to shift to either debt or convertible debt or SAFE. And then when you are ready and you have proven scalability, then this is the time you shift to equity. You don't do equity up front. Why? Because your valuation is going to be at the lowest. You haven't proven traction, you haven't proven scalability, your value is going to be down. So start with debt, start with grants, move to debt, and then move to equity afterwards. For those who are doing a non-profit, equity doesn't apply, but grant applies, and of course debt also applies. Lastly, consider phasing in the new equity capital in tranches. Don't take equity up front. Why? Because the dilution is going to be high. You don't want to be diluted severely. You want this to be, and I don't want as an investor to dilute you severely. So this process is a gradual process that comes in. Lama, next slide. We finished? Okay, very good. So we're going to finish here. Okay, there is a lot of other slides we have not shown. Now you're going to get the slides. You're going to get the reading materials. You will have also access to the not only to these videos, but also to other videos that we have done on different topics that you have on it. So you're going to have a source of material. In the slides, you have the contact detail of Lama. You have my contact details on it. Reach out behind it. What we do is we sit down. We'll be more than happy to sit down, of course, on a pro bono basis, understand where you are, and see whether or not we could help you. And if we cannot, you know, Raja is here, Maurice is here, Frida is here. You had Sami, you had Yasser, you had others that we have, and we have a network of more than 25, 30 of those advisors who are interested and who are keen to do it. And the importance here, even within USG, you have a number of the people like Fuad who also are interested and would like to participate more in terms of the development of this ecosystem. Now I'm going to present Maurice. Maurice is also a friend. Also, yes.
But he's not here.
Oh, he's not here? Okay, where is he?
He had to leave.
Oh, he had to leave. Okay, so he's upset with me now.
No.
Yeah, he's not upset? Okay, very good. Okay, look, I'm going to finish now. I just want to, I mean, behind it, as you well understood, I will not be able to do what I'm doing now without having Lama next to me. I'm getting emotional now. So this is the, so I want to...
Thank you. I can't do this without Constantin as well. Just for those of you who didn't get the certificate, I apologize again, and please make sure you mention your names here. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for the patience of staying with us 3 days in a row, late evenings, and I hope you really benefited from this. We're here. Our emails are here. Most of you have our phone numbers as well. Reach out. You need advice, just reach out and you'll get it. And best of luck. And stay tuned on our LinkedIn page. We're posting tips. We're posting future workshops that we will be having so that you stay informed. Thank you so much and have a lovely long weekend.